What's up guys, Barry Game here, back with some more AFK Journey, and today we're going to be doing a little bit more of a deep dive on the tanks in AFK Journey because, well, a lot of people have been asking questions. We've had two brand new tanks come out very recently, and we're going to go over the pros and cons of each one of them in every single faction because some of them are god tier and then useless in one game mode, and then another one is like amazing at PvP and Dream Realm but not good here. So I'm going to break it down for you so you guys have a better idea of how to build your team and what teams work with these tanks, because there's no point running an Antandra if you're running like an Aaron style type team. So we're going to hyper focus on that. Hopefully you guys enjoy this one. If you have any questions, please leave a comment down below. We'll try to address them and give you guys the best advice possible. Let's get into it. First up, let's start with Festo. He is the newest Hypogen / Celestial hero, and he is honestly one of the best at pushing AFK stages. This hero's abilities are very, very strong. The fact that he summons an illusion at the very beginning of the battle already gives him much more value than other tanks, for the simple reason of you can almost make sure that the main body survives and the secondary body takes the big hits, because as you all know, at the beginning of battle there's a huge amount of burst coming in right away. You don't have time to set up your defenses. His illusion right here, the passive on his ultimate, is very, very good. His active version does some AoE damage. His damage feels lacking for what most of us wanted. However, it's still not horrible. It's just not like godly or anything like this. Essentially, the really cool thing with Festo is based on his placement, he will sign a contract with the allied hero behind them. If you put a hero behind the main body, they get bonus energy recovery speed. If you put the another hero behind the illusion, they get damage reduction. So a lot of utility with how you build your team right there as well. Very, very strong. And of course, he does have paralyzing poison and all this stuff. He increases his defenses at Supreme Plus. It becomes very good because of course you get a shield at the beginning of battle. His season ability is okay. It is a CC effect. He does taunt, of course, but not kind of what I wanted. And then really with this hero, I do feel like you really kind of want Mythic Plus. The fact that Festo taunts the enemy who dealt the most damage to his illusion and is defeated before he deals damage and then also stuns that target for 4.5 seconds. That's a big amount of time to have extra crowd control. And beyond that, if you do take this up to plus 15, which again, this is just pure whale tank kind of thing that nobody else should really even focus on Festo. If you're not a big spender, don't focus on it. He can then also summon an additional illusion when that illusion dies. So his core kit is decent. His big survivability really comes in the form of his Mythic Plus and Supreme Plus, but even then, I mean, he still has the ability to taunt enemies. He still has illusion. He still has those benefits. Can be very good, but definitely one that you heavily need to invest in. Now, he is the best in AFK stages for sure. He's really good in PvP with certain team compositions. And a lot of other game modes that he can push into. He's not really used in Dream Realm. He's not obviously used in Tower because, well, there is no such thing as a light and dark tower. So he can be very good, but this is definitely the most pay-to-win tank there is. Next up, yes, some of you might not actually know, Tamia is a tank, but Tamia runs all over the battlefield, which doesn't really fill the typical tank role you have. If anything, getting her to Mythic Plus, unlocking her Invincible Fury, is kind of what makes her really good in very specific scenarios. Now, Tamia can be good in different PvP modes. She can be really solid depending on the team built around her. Her season ability is pretty cool in the fact that it increases the physical damage taken by adjacent enemies. So if you're building a very physical damage centric team, she can be a great addition to that as well. But she's mainly used for her damage, which is kind of interesting. The one main place she has the most use for is of course in Dream Realm, mainly the Necro Dragon boss. Besides that, she doesn't exactly do what you want for a tank. She again runs all over the battlefield, doesn't really take the attention of the enemies, and the enemies just run to your back line and destroy your whole team while she's running around. So if you're looking for a tank hero, Tamia is not it. However, she can be useful in some game modes. Overall, just don't use her as a tank. Use her as a damage dealer. Lamont is honestly one of my favorite tanks in the game. He has crazy survivability, really good control effects, and now with other heroes like Almus and stuff, His abilities are kind of cool. However, it really comes down to getting him to Mythic Plus, because you know how we always highlight him doing that big smash on the ground? The third time he hits that totem down, he's going to deal damage equal to 40% of his max HP, so giving him tons of HP is huge. Dealing damage to enemies within 1, 2, and 3 tiles in order, and reducing their attack by 25%. Huge survivability tool right there. But his third smash also knocks the enemies into the air. That has some cool synergy with some of the newer heroes like Almus and such. Pretty interesting. I definitely like this. An extra skill attempt is granted when the battle starts or an ally is defeated for the first time, so we can do the totem slam over and over. He has some good shielding type abilities where he gets the shield value equal to 30%. Really cool. Also increases his own physical defense of 2 closest allies by 30%. He's got some pretty good utility. And I'm surprised more people don't use this hero. He is surprisingly tanky. When he does get to Supreme Plus as well, Lamont recovers HP per second while shielded by that totem ward. So as long as he's shielded, he also has some crazy heals per second. His season ability is decent as well, I'd say, because this is another one that increases the haste of your team as well as the damage they deal in the last 40 seconds of battle. He can be a really good utility, but he's just not the best in any one game mode. He's just like good. And there's too many good tanks to just be good and be noted. You can find uses for him. He can be good as a budget AFK stage pusher if you can get him up to Mythic Plus. Before Mythic Plus, though, this is definitely a hero that is a definite stay away from. Doesn't have much use until Mythic Plus. Once you get to Mythic Plus, pretty strong for pushing deficit. Next up, we have Granny. She is good at stall tactics. She can be good as a budget version of one of the other tanks we're going to talk about, almost, for pushing AFK deficit. And if you're building a very Wilder-centric team, she can be very good. Her ultimate basically is really strong because within 2 tiles all around her, she's going to basically make all those enemies rooted and just lose a percent of their HP. It gets very powerful as it levels up because she basically just leeches all that health and brings it right back to her. It's really awesome. The seed cannon, when an enemy deals total damage equal to 15% of her max HP, she shoots a parasitic seed at the enemy, dealing damage and reducing their haste. And again, that reduced haste slows down the attacks that are coming in as well. She does have a taunt like a lot of tank heroes, and this one's kind of cool because she will also instantly recover HP. This is really cool. This skill prioritizes the enemy who targets the weakest ally, which is kind of cool because it saves your weakest ally from a lot of stuff here. Like I said, when you do get her to Mythic Plus, she does get better. You don't need her at Mythic Plus, which I think makes her a really good budget option here. But when she does drop below 50% HP, the Glimmer Bloom shield grows bigger, increasing her physical defense by 50% and magic defense, as well as recovering 100% HP every second. This is really awesome if you do take her to plus 10. She's also unaffected, aka she's basically not going to be able to take any type of control effects. Really solid. She does also recover more at Supreme Plus. And then finally, her season ability, not that great. It's like damaging. I would say she's a really good budget option, especially if you're going for a more Wilder type team, like you're building an Aaron, Arden, that style team. I think she's the better option than a lot of them. Granted, I still think there's one tank better in that scenario, which we'll talk about here a little bit later. But an awesome tank, doesn't need a huge amount of investment in her, and still be really good. Thoren is next up, and this is probably one of the favorite tanks overall, I feel like, for a lot of people, because he has some really unique abilities. As far as the best, like, offensive tank in the game, it is definitely Thoren. His ultimate is insane, does a huge amount of damage. He also gains life drain off of it. He's unaffected while casting the skill, and the best part is, even if he's killed while casting it, he's still gonna release that gigantic AoE. So really awesome. I absolutely love it. His base ability here, Soul Plunder, is really cool. It basically makes the target that he's attacking receive 13% more damage for the rest of the battle. Really cool. I love that part of it as well. Resurrection is the key thing that everybody knows about Thoren. He will resurrect with 40-ish% HP short time after being defeated. The downside is he is one of the squishier tanks, so if you're using him on the front line, he dies. The enemies are going to go and start attacking your backline heroes before he has time to revive. So it's really annoying at times. Just note that is something that happens here. His big impact comes at Soul Pact, and he's going to be one of the better tanks to run against like Dream Realm bosses, especially if you need increased survivability, because this right here is going to link him to the ally behind him, taking 50% of that ally's damage taken and transferring it to him. Beyond that, when he's defeated for a second time, the ally is going to sacrifice HP and let him revive one additional time. So that's really cool. Going up against like King Croaker, best in slot here. He's probably the best tank when it comes to PvP because of the damage output, the linking, and the resurrections. Really good stuff. When you do get him at Supreme Plus, Thoren's ultimate drains another 20% of the current HP from all enemies affected by Soul Plunder, which is really cool. And his season ability is really strong for doing Dream Realm bosses and such. Increases the damage a target takes by 11% for 3 seconds after dealing damage to that target. Goes all the way up to 18%. Not the best AFK stage pushing tank though, because in reality in AFK stages you're buying time. That's not really what Thoren does. He has some other type abilities. Best PvP tank, I would say, out there, because he just does so much for your team, and best tank when needed when we're talking about things like Dream Realm. So really awesome hero. This is why a lot of people prioritize building Thoren as their first tank, because he's so versatile. Granted, AFK battles, he isn't great, but you have other tanks that you can do to fill that role. He fills like almost every other role in every other game mode compared to other tanks. So really good and a high priority target. Man, making this video makes me really want to have a truly good tank in the Lightbearer faction, because the other one besides Tamia is Lucius. And again, Lucius really isn't a full-on tank. Lucius is what I call like a hybrid tank slash healing support hero, because his ultimate's really strong. He gives shields to allies within a certain range when he casts it. It can be very strong and pretty much usable in almost every game mode. The downside of him is he doesn't really have that much else going on as far as team support. Most everything else is local to like what he does here. His Sacred Beam, when you do get him to Mythic Plus, shoots Divine Light to a 3 tile wide and 4 tile length area, dealing damage to all enemies, reducing their attack, which is cool. It is a survivability tool. Each enemy hit grants a shield as well, so it's not really one that you need to go to Mythic Plus on. Definitely don't really need to go to Supreme Plus either. His season ability though is kind of clutch, because he's got that one that gives increased haste to allies and then additional damage dealt to targets the last 40 seconds of battle. Really, his whole entire kit comes down to his ultimate skill here, Divine Light Aegis. When you need more tankiness and stuff like that, he can be a great pick. Really good, solid budget hero to use on Crystal Beetle in the Primal Lord in Song of Strife. And yeah, besides that, I'm just waiting for a really good tank in the Lightbearer faction, but I feel like we're getting a lot of tanks lately. I don't think it's going to happen for quite a while. Next up is Antandra, and if we're talking about like one of the best first tanks to build on an account, there's no denying it is Antandra. She's an A-level hero, which means she's very easy to build. She's by far one of the tankiest tanks in the game without much investment in her. It's surprising what like a single copy of Antandra can do for your team. Very good. Let's start out with her shield formation basic here. Basically selects the frontmost ally except for herself and guards them. That's the big part that's really big. She grants herself and the guarded ally a shield that blocks damage, and the shield value up to 500% of Antandra's attack. So that'll be lower if you don't have too much invested in her, but overall it's not too bad. And then of course she'll also, you know, reselect the frontmost target except for herself if the other one's defeated. All that shield value increases, all those fun things. Her ultimate is interesting too. She sets up a shield and taunts enemies for 1 second. It's not a long one, but it is a taunt. Reduces her damage taken by 60%, which makes her so tanky, and becomes unaffected, aka cannot be controlled. Afterwards, she raises the shield to stun adjacent enemies for 2 seconds, dealing damage and knocking them down. So that can be a really cool synergy with some other heroes as well. Very tanky hero overall, though. That's the biggest part. She can also reduce target's attack, which is a huge utility. Has more HP on her hero focus, and when you do get her to Mythic Plus, her Gale Barrier is kind of cool. She rushes next to the guarded ally when their HP drops below 50% for the first time, reducing their damage taken by 40%. Another huge buff to survivability on your team. Goes all the way up to 60%. I feel like you don't necessarily need the Enhanced Force at Supreme Plus on her, so building her to like Mythic Plus is kind of the good cap on her. Her season ability does help her tank better, which is cool, but overall, the big part why you use Antandra is this shield formation to keep other heroes alive, and then her ultimate does that as well. If you're running the stereotypical beginning team of Coco, Antandra, Smokey, those three are really good, and then typically run like Cessia and Rowan. That's one of the best early game teams. It still is if you're playing free to play. And if I had to give one vote for the best early game free to play tank, it's definitely Antandra. Now, last and certainly not least is the brand new hero, Alus, and I think he is extremely good. We're going to go over his skills a little bit more of a Cliff Notes version since we've been doing it a lot. He, of course, can give himself a shield or an ally a shield if he is in his damage dealing mode in the back row, which is cool. He passively recovers tons of HP, which insanely increases his survivability. When he does go to the back row damage mode, which doesn't do much, he does recover energy instead, which I kind of wish he didn't. He has tons of HP, and when he gets to Mythic Plus, this is when he becomes extremely good. He goes from really good to extremely good because of his synergy with heroes like Aaron, because it says when he almost extends his roots to trap vulnerable enemies on the battlefield. Whenever an enemy is knocked down, knocked into the air, or affected by a displacement skill, like Aaron's hurricane thing or tornado thing, Almost binds the target to the ground, increasing the knockdown duration by 2 seconds, and this effect can happen once every 10 seconds. So that is absolutely huge uptime on crowd control. Probably the best tank if we're talking about things like Dura's Trials. He can be solid depending on the strategy in PvP, and of course, AFK pushing is probably one of the best besides Festo for AFK deficit pushing, just because the whole point of deficit pushing is controlling the enemy team long enough that they don't do damage to you, because they're just going to nuke your entire team the second they get to. Supreme Plus is kind of cool. It doesn't like really do too much because season ability sucks. It does additional damage. You're not building this tank for damage. You're building about survivability, and it's all about getting him to Mythic Plus. So if you have the time to invest into him, he can be very good. Definitely not one you absolutely need on your account, though, depending on what type of teams you run. So what do you guys think? Do you think my opinions on these tanks are valid? Am I off base on any of them? Do you have a different opinion? Leave a comment down below. And again, if you have any questions about any of these tanks, leave a comment as well. We'll try to get you the best community feedback and my feedback and give you guys some advice. Hopefully you guys enjoy this one. If you haven't done it just yet, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys next time.